Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Marcus and TCG Discussions coming at you today with my first place Treasure Cup Rob Lucci 08 deck profile day one. It was 08 legal. This is the day one build that we decided to go with and pilot, and we navigated our way to first place. We got lucky in our packs. We pulled a Nami. We got, of course, the store Treasure Cup Perona, which looks really, really nice. I like it a lot. And then Jewelry Bonnie. We also got a red chopper, but he didn't make the cut for this, but he'll make the cut for the Sora list when eventually we do it. I got these laws here, which I got one, I think, in my opening pack. These two in a Jinbei. So for winning, it was pretty nice. And then the winner pack that we got from 07's list was the Momo. Which was really nice, because I need, I think, one more for my Perona deck to have like max momos for that. That'd be super cool. But yeah, I wanted to showcase the deck profile for you guys. I can't talk because it's late and I'm tired, but I'll set these up here and just let you guys know what I'm playing with day one. I know it's Nats right now. Everyone probably cares a lot about that, what's going on with it. But I think Rob Lucci is definitely going to be a meta contender still. A lot of people thought that like he would be kind of booted a little bit out of the format with like any slobbies being gone. But in 08, he's insane. The additions that we get make him really, really strong. And so I wanted to show you guys where I'm at. Rob Lucci. We know what this guy does already. Attacking for a -1 -2. Super good. We're playing the CP package, so we play Force Phantom. Still really necessary. This card search is one of our top ends now that we have to play, I think. And we'll talk about why I'm playing specific cards and why I don't when I get there, but this card is now our best turn one play. The only other one you could technically count as Tempest Kick because it's like draw a card. But there's matches where you need to save that for, right? And so he's still the best start. Next, probably a little bit more controversial, is 3, Rob Lucci. Decided to go with 3 because I wanted to make more room for the top end. Jack is obviously a card in 08 that we play. And so we don't need to rely on Lucci as much for KOing as long as we can get to Jack on curve. Early game Rob Lucci's are kind of bad anyway. I did play one on turn 2 immediately in the finals against Bonnie. I played, it was 3-round tournament. I played round 1 played Calgara, round 2 played Reiju, and round 3 played Bonnie. So a pretty nice spread. A little bit of deck diversity, just to show that the deck can still dominate against a lot of stuff. And Bonnie literally just could not keep a card on the board at all, no matter what. So we did this to KO one of the Searcher Baby 5 on turn 2, and then filled up our trash with other effects and got our game plan going. So I didn't feel that 3 is terrible. It might be a pretty good ratio to go with from here on. 4 Khalifa, still one of our best turn 2 plays, and also simultaneously like a really strong filter. We play a lot more bricks, so getting those cards filtered out, it can be nice if like we don't have Sabo right away, or like our opponent will get a little bit too far without getting those counter cards to our hand. I know it seems backwards to play a counter card to get rid of other cards, but it just kind of depends. And then the new edition of 2K's Who's Who. This card is insane. It's like honestly like one of the best 2Ks I think in the game. It has a trigger effect to KO or 3 or less. So this like hits Porsche. It hits like it hits a lot of things. It's Chopper Blocker. It hits Searchers. And it's really important to the deck because it's also another KO piece. You can play it down, pitch a card, and get rid of a 3 or less as well. So he's also a little bit of our like early game KO and doesn't make us focus on Lucci, and it actually kind of helps us set up. Like if we have a card in our hand that's dead, we have 2 copies of it. If we have a couple jacks or something, like we may want to just pitch one of them to get rid of a card. And so it's pretty nice. And unlike Kaku, he doesn't like make us cycle back CPs. So that's like very, very nice. And then to wrap up some of the other CP character cards, we play 2 Spandine. A lot of builds and ads are going to 3 of this. I decided to keep it at 2. I think you just still see this card when you need it, and it's not like overly busted to like that you need to see it at 3. Some people feel that like you need to just have 3 to make sure that you get in your trash, but I find good counterpoints because you're not really trying to play this without like Gecko, Moria, or Rebecca. And if you have like Rebecca with Gecko without the Gecko, you can still just get rid of it. Obviously, if you don't have the card, you don't have the card, and so that can hurt, but there's other ways you can kind of play around that. So, yep. Moving on. For Sabo. Gotta play for Sabo. I think this is probably pretty standard. It's best against black and helps protect your board while giving you that 5/6 blocker. Using this guy aggressively is like something that I'm still learning kind of to do. And don't just use him as a blocker, but also use him as an attack tool. And then for Rebecca, probably the heart and soul of the deck. If you ever want to hit black, hit this card. Like everyone keeps talking about Gecko, just hit this card. This card is crazy. It does way too much. It does a lot in ST14 Luffy. It does a lot in this. It does a lot in Gecko. It did a lot in Sakazuki. Like, she's like the habitual offender, but we love her. She's great. So, yeah. Still gotta play for it. I think that she is honestly like probably the best blocker in the game. And then wrapping up our low end, we have 2 Helmeppo. Some people decided to play this at 3, even I was playing him at 3 in one of my most recent Lucci lists, just to make sure I have him in there without any lobbies. But honestly, I think he's fine at 2. Again, this is a card that like you're not actively looking to play to the board, so it's not something that you want to see a lot of. You want to see like your other cards are like filter, and we have like a lot more reliance on KO removal with Jack now, so we don't need to see like multiples of like all these other pieces to like combo break. Like Jack can simply like kind of get us by and help us play our game plan. I think that we have some other choice cards that I think are pretty helpful. So moving on. I've already started talking about him, but I can't say enough for Jack. I'm so excited. My boy Vic is going to help me with the other 2 alt arts. I'm so close to having my entire black collection max rarityed from 08, but this is probably the most busted card they've ever made for black, and that includes Gecko Moria. I just do not understand what they were thinking when they made this card. This card is absolutely insane. So if you don't know what he does, this character gains +4 cost. So you play him on the board, and he just is an 11k, which means like in the Black Mirror, he's extremely hard to get rid of. He's a 7/8, so you get, finally, we have a 7 Dawn turn that is actually good. And so Jack is just extremely strong for what he does. He has an activate main to rest himself. Excuse me. And then, excuse me again. He draws a card, and then you discard a card. So he's filter, digging you toward your Morias. So he's more draw for the deck, which is really, really good. And then to top it off, he KOs a 3 or less, which is insane. Like, this effect alone is like going to make like Rob Lucci extremely good against a lot of decks. Maybe not ST14 Luffy, especially since like in ST14 Luffy, it's even harder to get rid of Jack because he's a 12 cost technically with Luffy's Dawn attached. But To speak to how broken this is Lucci was always known for being able to KO 2 cards, and if it's low enough to the ground, he can now KO 3. I can't even imagine how busted this card would have been if Lucci still had stage. I mean, that's a 5 cost every single turn, just dead. Like, with stage for free, just draw filter, nothing. And then again, like in the Black Mirror, he's just extremely difficult to get rid of. So Jack is a very welcomed addition to black in general in the deck. But I cannot stress how strong this card is. Even if he's not getting that KO effect, he is still a 7/8. You know, for 7 Dawn, get an 8k attacker. And even though 7 Dawn seems a little bit pricey, the effect of what he has is just absolutely absurd. Making him very difficult to remove. And so, yeah, we compensated a little bit for that. You'll see that here shortly. Next, we played 2 Sabo. I'm a big fan of this card. This is the 8 cost that you pitch a card and you KO 5/3 for multiple reasons. In the mirror, it is definitely not good to play Gecko first. The reason is like if you Gecko and then they counter Gecko and wipe your entire board, that just essentially means that like you have to respond in kind. Well, if this is the play and Gecko's place and you have Gecko back, they're gonna Gecko your Sabo and then you're gonna Gecko their Gecko. So that's like kind of the philosophy. The other aspect about him that is very strong is that our deck runs into a consistency issue with seeing Gecko Moria. While he is the best card, we have no way to search it. We don't always have him. And so this feels kind of bad at times. And so Sabo gives us a KO route and KO lines that at 8 Dawn we can still do with our leader effect, for example. You know, KOing a 5 cost and a 3 cost is very easy for a lot of decks in their low ground. Just to give you an example, if you're playing against Reiju and they have like the blue rain, the Niji on the board, and they have like a Reiju or a Porsche, this card's effect outright gets rid of it, right? Against Calgara, if they've Holied and have Calgara on the board, you can leader swing minus the Calgara and KO the Holy and the Calgara, and then they just have right? And depending about their life circumstance, it's kind of iffy. This also addresses Mont Blanc and in the matchup. This KOs anything basically in Zoro. It in the mirror, it just is very easy with reduction to get to 5. The other thing is against 10 cost cards, now that we play Ice Age, Sabo gets immediate value in getting rid of those cards as well. And yeah, if you have multiple Ice Ages, you know, you can get rid of, like against yellow, for example, you could get rid of like a Katakuri and a 10 cost card. I mean, his breadth of strike distance for cost is very, very good. And so this gives us an alternative line while giving us that extra strategic protection in the mirror match, and then gives us that nice solid 8/9 body. Yeah. And I'll talk about my games today to talk about where some of these cards shined. Next, Gecko Moria. No shocker here. You gotta play him. He's arguably the best card in black. I think that Jack and Rebecca both kind of like have something to say about it, but there's no denying that he's like a top 3 black card in the game. And like I said, there's just not much to say about this card. He's the most broken combo piece maker in the game because of this deck. He plays 5 eyes to the board while removing multiple at the same time. He's value geckos, like in this deck today, I did a value, I had 3 geckos in my hand, so like the first one was at 8 Dawn was like a value Gecko to put like Rebecca Spandam, and I searched a 2 Khalifa 2K and added another 2K against Bonnie. Maybe that was like a, I think that was actually like my second Gecko. I think that was my second Gecko. But either way, crazy. Next, the card that I think is going to be a little bit controversial, but you really need to watch out for this card. Stussy at 2. And notice I'm not playing Isho. I think the time of Isho is probably past. He just does not do enough. An example, even if you were to Isho your opponent in the mirror, that is basically a pass turn. You do not do anything to your opponent's board, right? If you do that, and you do like rip a couple cards, and they still have the way to remove the Isho, aka this card, for example, you have a very big problem, because yeah, you've just basically discarded 2 cards, but now you have to deal with the 9 cost. And yes, you may be able to deal with the 9 cost, but the whole point of you playing Isho was to get that value. And if your hand doesn't complement that value, then you're shot in the water, right? The other thing is there are game states where Isho just does not, and I mean absolutely does not, and I'm going to repeat myself, does not do anything. You can take a couple of cards, but it doesn't change the fact that you're going to lose the game. Like, for example, if these 2 cards are Isho, right, and they were the only like KO like combination with all the combination of cards in my hand, I could not KO a 9 cost Zoro. Well, if I just die on the crackback because I played Isho and took 2 cards from Bonnie, it doesn't matter. So Isho basically becomes kind of a less like meta dependent card. Number one, because the decks that beat you don't need to have high hand sizes anyway. Like Zoro, for example, does not need a high hand size. It doesn't matter that you Isho, you have to deal with the board. If you're not dealing with the board, it doesn't do anything. Stussy at least pops a card, even though it's like 9 costs for 1, which is like terrible. But you can do a Spandam search and play Stussy at the same time. But the reason this card is also necessary is for the mirror. And a lot of people just do not, when they are initially crafting their list, are thinking of like, I'm trying to play Isho, get this value, get the reduction, and then like Jack just gets really good value. The problem is you can never remove your opponent's Jack with just Isho. Like, it's just not gonna happen. For example, even if you like Tempest kick Jack something, right, with Isho on the board, that's only 6 out of his 11. He's still a 5 cost. Sure, you could reduce him down to 2 with Helmeppo in the trash, and that's like a really good combination, right? But notice how many cards I keep having to add to the combination, and this is also including Gecko Moria. Like, right, if you did the Gecko Moria play. So you have the Gecko Moria, Tempest Kick, Isho established just to get rid of somebody's Jack. Whereas now you have a solo 1-card answer. It does not matter what the cost of Jack is. It doesn't matter that he's 11. It doesn't matter against ST14 Luffy that he's 12. Stussy can just get rid of the card. And this has come up several times in several games of several matchups of everything that I've played with Lucci, both in 08 and 07. This card is extremely strong against Nil. It is a 1-for-1 trade to remove their 10 cost ace. This card is and Yamato and Katakuri. This card is extremely strong into Bonnie. It removes Dofi, it removes Zoro, it removes Hody. So like these cards that she's playing at the top end that are hyper good are like insane. There's a lock that Bonnie can do, and I'll just explain like why this is super strong. If you have Jack established at 7 or 8, and you have Stussy going into 9 or 10, this lock does not work anymore. So they can play the 8-cost Rosinante, play Cavendish, and then play the Rosie blocker. And the Rosie blocker basically makes it impossible for you to KO anything on the board that's not it. This combo is severely hampered by the fact that we have Jack now. But it'll speak to the volumes of how strong Stussy is. So with Jack, you could just simply tap in, draw a card, KO a card, and get rid of the blocker. And then now Stussy is just a 1-card answer to the Rosinante. You could still do the same thing, like a Gecko combo, for example, to get rid of the Rosinante, but you need another card. Whereas, again, with Stussy, you just don't. And the cards that you sacrifice for this are like a Spandam, right? Like you just KO Spandam on the board that was like brought back in a Rebecca like combo with Gecko, or something that you played early on that they just never got rid of, or like another card that's on the board that's just like less impactful. Like I KO'd like a 4-cost Lucci to put it back in the trash so that I can then replay Gecko next turn and then replay him again. Just little combos like that, right? And so Stussy just gets a lot of value. She's a 9/9, so she's a little bit harder to get rid of in the Gecko like curve line. Obviously, you know, Ice Age into Helmeppo is still, Lucci is still going to get rid of her, right? But I would rather them spend it on this card than breaking my board, right? That I want to establish with this. That's like another ploy, right? Like your opponent Geckos, whoever Geckos first is generally losing, because you just need it's always asking to have Gecko more. And so like, it's just a little bit more difficult. And then again, I just want to point this out. Lucci's problem, right? Like how he loses matchups is just by not having the big bodies to do what his game plan is trying to do. And that is just like Scorched Earth, remove your opponent's cards at all the time. If they can't play cards, they can't win the game. That's the point. And then you build up a big board with like your Gecko, and you get like Gecko's like whole 5-card play line is also like defensive and offensive. You get a 6K, you get a 2/3, you get a 3/2, you get a blocker, and you get an 8/9. That is just a lot of value, right? If they're spending all of that value just to get rid of this card, it is nice, because then now I can counter Gecko, right? But again, it is also combo reliant, and this is something else to kind of elaborate on, and why Stussy is also strong. With Gecko to be effective to his fullest potential, you need a combination of cards that sometimes, no matter what ratios like you're deciding to like up and down, like Helmeppo and Span 9 to 3, you're just basically sacrificing you know, the raw ability of what this card offers. And if you don't have the combination of cards in the trash, this card becomes a lot less effective. Like there's been several times where like I don't have a Spandine in the trash for the Gecko combo, but I have like Rebecca, Lucci, and Helmeppo. And so I'm just forced to like Gecko, Helmeppo, Lucci, which again still isn't bad, right? 8/9, 4/6, 2/3. That's not bad. 3 buys the board for 1, good value. Remove 2 cards. Awesome. It's a +5 swing in board state of my favor. The reality is though, is that with Stussy, I don't need the combination of cards, right? If I'm missing the Helmeppo from the trash for the reduction, and Lucci won't KO the card, Stussy can just get rid of the card. And again, establishing this body and removing that tempo against certain matchups is backbreaking. Like Bonnie's rest effect eventually becomes nothing because there's too many big bodies to rest. It doesn't matter. And if you can do that while effectively keeping their board clear, then they'll just lose. And this is the same philosophy for basically every deck that Lucci is trying to play against. In Stussy, I think it's her time to shine, because Jack in the meta is that serious. Like your opponent's Jack, and like I had opponents that were spending entire turns trying to attack to get rid of it, because it's just going to get too much value, right? Because no matter what they play, even if they play multiple cards, one of them simply just dies just for him being on the board. This is before anything else I do, which is completely crazy to even think about. And I'll talk about that when I get to my matchups. I don't want to spend too much longer trying to sell you on Stussy. And I actually think that there's a buyout of this card right now. If you haven't, I would pick her up. Also, for example, one of the things she's good at is getting rid of 10-cost cards. Like Kaido, Big Mom. The Big Mom Kaido combination that blows everything up. Dofi, right? Like just getting rid of them. You just get rid of them. And this way they don't have anything anymore, which is really good. Moving on to our events. We're going to make this one pretty quick. 4 Tempest Kick, 4 Ice Age. I think you have to play 4s of these. People were, I think, kind of trolling themselves at Nats trying to say that you should play 3 Ice Age. I just don't buy that at all. You're a mill deck, which means you're going to mill certain numbers of these cards. There's games where I see 1 Ice Age and I've milled 3, right? Like, you cannot control that. So you basically have to play, like, top numbers of these cards, essentially, to see them correctly and on curve. And I think that, like, with Jack, it helps, right? We have that draw filter now, and I think that that's really good. And so, yeah. Ice Ages, because Jack's existence is now more necessary than anything, from 11 down to 6, 6 to 3, and leaders off Helmeppo, and then leader swing will reduce it down completely within Lucci range. So these are just things that you have to keep in mind. Like, if you think that you can survive in the mirror by playing only 3 of these, you're kidding yourself. Because as soon as you mill all 3 of them and they play Jack, you basically have no world that's not double Tempest Kick in order to get rid of it without some other, like, reduction combination already present on the board. And then we play 2 Finger Pistol, and then 1 6 King. Shigan, or Finger Pistol, is still a very necessary evil. Bonnie is still around and she got revamped. And so this is still a very necessary card to out Basil. Fortunately, though, the reason why we do not have to play 3 or 4 of them, like in my previous list, to answer Bonnie, is we have Jack now. And when they go into 6, Jack can be answered more easily if we have like 10 cards, and they're at 7, right? We always want to take second. And so they go into 7 Dawn, we're going to go into 8. We can actually just Tempest Kick and then play Jack down after everything is rested on our board, and his activate mean rest him. So Basil cannot protect himself from their removal. So that's very nice. And then 16 Pistol, we do play a lot of bricks. This is like our 9th 2K. We play it to remove a card from our hand that is just bricky or set something else up. Now, the cool thing about him or this 0-cost card is its trigger. It says draw 1 and then KO to one of your opponent's 1 or less. This is massive against Bonnie, right? If they swing into our life and we just get to remove the 1 cost for free and draw a card, like, that's busted. So I also want to point something out between this, and Who's Who. These three cards and Who's Who. We now have we have 1 card in our deck, being Finger Pistol, that hits a 5 or less as a trigger, and the other 12 hit a 3 or less, which is really, really good. This gives us a lot better chances against Zoro, right? Which is one of the big cards. I can't believe on a 2K of like Who's Who they printed a KO effect for play and then a trigger KO effect. That's just nuts to me. But yeah, so that does it for the last of the 50. So yeah, this is where I'm at with Rob Lucci for day 1. I cannot sing enough praises about how strong. I'm going to put Jack up here. Like, Stussy's the queen of the deck now, but I'm going to put one of the new kings up here, Jack. I cannot sing enough praises about how strong this card is. It is busted. It helped me win many matchups today. So let's go over them. Round 1, played against Galgra. I got to establish a Jack. I got second, and then I established Jack. And basically KO'd a Holy off his own Holy that he just got. And then the next turn was one of the grossest things I realized about this card. Going into 10 Dawn, I have Ice Age and Tempest Kick and Gecko with full combo available in the trash. And so he lost 3 bodies in 1 turn. And you just can't make it up. Like, it's like almost not okay how crazy Jack is. Because all it took was leader swing to reduce a 4 cost to 3, or reduce an ohm. I Tempest kicked his ace, and then I Tempest kicked another 4 cost. I think either it was like a wiper or something else. Actually, I think it was like ohm, ace, holy. I think that was like the board. And so I Tempest kicked ace. I Tempest kicked one of the ohms. Leader swung, reduced another ohm, and KO'd ace with KO'd the ace with jack, and then actually I think I KO'd an ohm. KO'd an ohm. Yeah, I KO'd an ohm. KO'd ohm, then ace was at 2, and then the other ohm was at 1. Actually, it might have been just 1. I think it was just 1 Tempest kick was necessary. Yeah, just 1 Tempest kick, because leader swing, Tempest, no, Tempest. Yeah, it was double Tempest. So Tempest kick ace, Tempest kick ohm, and then leader swing on a minus ohm, and then I did full Gecko combo. And then I KO'd ace and an ohm with a Lucci, and then jack killed the one that was reduced by 1 off leader effect. That's disgusting. Like, that is absolutely disgusting. So I drew 2 cards, drew 1, filtered 1, and removed 3 cards off the board. My opponent was essentially dead in the water, and then realized that he needed to start swinging at jack, and then I had Rebecca block for the first one, so it lived another turn, KO'd another card that he played, and then he swung over it. By that time, Gecko was on the board. I had another Gecko play, so it just didn't go anywhere. I think it was like next turn, it was just like Gecko, Lucci, Himepo, and he's just shot in the water, right? Like, he can't keep a board, and if he can't keep a board, then there's nothing to do. And then by the time he was actually able to attack over jack, it was just too late, and I had like another Gecko in my hand, and I had 3 Geckos in jack. It was just absolutely crazy. Game 2, played against Reiju. Round 2, played against Reiju. That one was a lot easier because of jack. Jack is like crazy because Ice Age just puts each GG in range to die right away. So the jack just got a lot of value. And then Tempest kick plus leader swing also puts EGG in range of jack. So removing his EGGs was a lot easier than it normally is. The thing that is like pseudo annoying though is if they can play EGG and reduce the jack and then just swing at it with cards that are already on the board. But Sabo got some value in that game as well. I think I like had before I Geckoed, I had a Sabo followed up by a Gecko after I played jack. And so yeah, he didn't really keep a board either. And then we eventually just kind of went out. And then round 3 played against Bonnie, and this deck takes Bonnie out back. It's really bad. She cannot live. Nothing stays on the board with the addition of jack. Like, we have more outs to Basil that are just way too powerful. And then the crazy thing is that this card just becomes a beat stick at some point. If you're not needing to KO anything, you can just flat out. He's basically like one of the hardest working cards in the deck. Like, he's so good. He just does so much, and then as soon as he's done doing the KO thing, he can just switch to offense as an 8K, which is just so good. It's such a boon for black. And then, yeah, it didn't matter what he played every single turn. Like, I think the only thing that lived was through a combination of plays was 1 Cavendish. Yeah, like, Idon had Sabo to KO Cavendish or Rouge. So the line is leader swing there. That's 3-4-2, 3-4-2. 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So he played Cavendish, Rouge, and Rosie Blocker all in one turn. It was just doomed. so I had Jack on the board. I rested, KO'd the Rosie blocker. I then used leader swing into the Arouge, and then he blocked with Arouge and let it go, which was correct, right? Like, shouldn't counter there, just give the block, because if they do have the ability to KO it, like, it's pretty bad. And I did. I had Sabo. Then I just KO'd Rosinante. Following turn after that, he played Zoro, thought it was safe, and then I Ice Age leader swung, played Jack. I think that was actually the turn before. I think he at 9 Dawn just flat played Zoro, and then I Ice Age Jack his Ice Age leader swing. Then I played Jack and then KO'd it. Then I did the whole Sabo play. And then the turn after that, he played 10 cost Dofi, and I Ice Age Gecko played it. And so, yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And then there was just nothing to do, right? He played something else. I think he played like one last ditch Dofi attempt, and I Stussied his Dofi. And then after I played Span Dam, searched a 2K, and then I Stussied his Dofi, which is backbreaking, right? Didn't even matter that Jack was tapped. Didn't matter that my leader was tapped. And the Sabo didn't get the value that I think that it didn't get the value. And so that's just too much, man. Like, it's just too much. Bonnie just, Bonnie's Bonnie. I mean, she's just, she's one of those decks that plays like a card or two per turn. And if they don't live, like, she is just dead in the water. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. And then we ended up winning the good old Perona. I'm excited to get these 2 Jacks. They're nice, they're helpful, they do their job, but I'm excited to get 2 more of this guy. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this profile down in the comment section. I know it's a little bit unorthodox, but it's day 1 of 08, so hopefully you guys can take some, give me some feedback on what you think. 2 cards of note that are not in here. Brook. I don't think Brook is really necessary anymore because of Jack. Even like as a pseudo option off of Lucci play, he's good, but he's also not Jack. So, and I think you just have to play for Jack, and it's just tough with the space. And then the other question that I was asked a lot at locals today was about the new 9 cost Kaido. So I like the card. I do. The issue is this card. And I will probably play him for fun. But if I'm going to play a 9 cost card, I'm going to probably have to play Stussy. 9 cost Kaido, even though he has a trash effect, it only hits 7 or less, and I have to pitch a card. And that activate main only works on the turn he's played. So if you do not have the reduction right then and there, the effect is useless. You're just playing a 9 for 9. Furthermore, you have to pitch a card, so you're reducing your hand size. And the reality is it still does not just answer Jack. Stussy flat out answers Jack. For the record, Stussy can also KO herself to get rid of a card. So, with her on-play effect. But, like, I wanted a card that flat answered the card and answered Jack over a card that's still going to require me to do other combinations. So that was the thinking behind it. And that's why I don't play those cards. Brook is maybe something to revisit. I just don't know what space I'm cutting for it. Like, Sabo is too good. Stussy is feels kind of necessary at this point, and Jack is Jack. So I don't know. Maybe there's other cards in the build, like maybe like 6 King Pistol is something I just have to like bite the bullet on and play a Brook. I don't know. But yeah, I do know that I'm very happy with this list. I think that it performed very, very well. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. And the only takeaway is that welcome to the new most broken black card in the game. We now have 2 super broken black cards. Actually, 3. He's the 3rd. Gecko, Rebecca, and this. And it's fortunately, yeah, it's a good time to be playing the color. So let me know what you guys think about this profile down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one as always. It's Marcus of TCG Discussions signing off. Laters.